Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, of course, who are also joining us here today to help us celebrate ourselves as women, as well as the women in our lives who continue to make an impact in our daily lives. My name is Basitana Ntloro, and I will be your program director for the day. Before we get into the program, I am going to hand it over to our student counselor in Ikuruleni, Mr. Fatuane Makahani, to help us welcome us properly for this beautiful event. Mr. Makahani, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good morning, colleagues. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's interesting to find that student counselor, which they made, is part of the program, which is basically for women. But I then realized that there is a relationship between the two. You cannot separate women and men because we are the product of women. So there is no man who doesn't belong to the woman. It's the principle of life. And my name is Fatwan Makan, a student counselor in Unisa Womens. I would love by saying that I want to welcome all the women in the group, young and old, senior citizens, and those who are listening. And then I think with this workshop, you will be learning a lot of things. Feel free to express yourself because the platform will be for you guys. And given the opportunity that it's all about women, you are more likely to ask a lot of questions to the women who are in the forefront so that you can learn a lot. Want to take it from the the other women who has got a passion about life, women who were courageous in this life. And I'll take it from the holy book, which is the Bible. And I'll start by try to encourage you by telling you about the women who were very, very courageous, despite all the challenges that they were faced with. And it's not gonna end with you guys because you are taking it from the other women who took a, a bull by its horn and try to deal with the issues which are trying to oppress women, but they take it forward and show that women can do it. Begin with, we've got one, the name of Sarah, who was a direct sister. We call it a half sister in the sense that she was from the other wife of Abraham's father, who is Sarah. So therefore, she ended up being married to the brother who is Abraham. Due to our culture, as we know, it's the fact that when you are married to the taboo to marry to your own blood. That is why sometimes it took long for them to have kids and sit up. Therefore, but at the end of the day, God still bless them at the later stage because He knows that Sarah also needed a child. Why? She was mocked by Abraham and his concubine was his worker, where in the head, whom Abraham was keep on reminding her every night, you don't have child, just allow me to have a child. And she ended up submitting to him as a woman and allow him to have his own child. And then later on, she had his own child, which is Isaac. Say Isaac was Sarah's child, and Ishmael was Abraham's child. The other woman that was courageous, I will tell you about Esther, a woman who became courageous in a foreign land. By that time, the women were not allowed to go to the king without, they were not allowed to go in front of the king. And she was the replacement of Vashti, who was so beautiful. But because God was on her side and they are courageous, she became more beautiful queen, and then she replaced the queen. And as such, she showed us the courageous woman in the sense that during that time, she managed to ask all the Hebrew, the Israelites, to help her fast for 3 days and pray for 3 days. Then this shows that there was a power in the prayer because immediately after those 3 days, she managed to go in front of the king. And then the king was so simple to her and say, you can ask anything and then it will be given to you. There is a lot of women who can talk about. Due to time constraints, we are just going to finish about talking about only the two women. This is the beginning of the period whereby I want every woman to understand that they are very important, they are very courageous, they are bold in their action, and then it's just that sometimes people, when they are women, they take themselves low, but at the same time, I think to me, because I think I've got the feminine in me. And when it comes out, it shows that women are more courageous than men. You can look at the women in present days or in South Africa, because you will say this one's maybe it was history. You know about the women like Mother Teresa. You know the women Winnie Mandela, and you know what women did during that time when they started like the 1965. It's a lot that we can talk about women to show that women were courageous. And when women take over the situation, it becomes. By having said that, I want to welcome everyone who is in here and take time to ask questions and listen very carefully to women. No, because we have got a very, very powerful speakers today. And having said that, thank you very much, guys. And I'll be listening as well, because the feminine in me says I must speak in so that I can also gain some more courage within this work job. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Makahane, for the warm welcome. I'm sure we're all feeling a little more comfortable and welcome and excited for the program ahead. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker for the day, Ms. Nkeke Tosago. So Nkeke Damaris Tosago is an accomplished language services professional with an extensive background in linguistics, translation, and education. She holds a BA degree in languages, an honors degree in linguistics and translation studies, a master's degree in linguistics and translation studies, and a secondary teacher's diploma. Her professional journey has taken her from teaching to the South African Air Force, where she served as a principal language practitioner. Ngeke's dedication to her craft led her to a position at the Gauteng Provincial Legislature, where she worked as a deputy managing editor in the Hansland and Languages section. She is currently a manager in the Language Services Directorate at the University of South Africa. As if that weren't enough, Ngeke has also recently launched her own guest house Lady D exclusive abode in Polokwane, which is gaining prominence, proving her prowess as an entrepreneur. Ngeke is also a mother of 3 adult children whom she raised single-handedly, an accountant, an IT technician, and a photographer. She attributes her success to the unwavering support of her family, mostly women, and her faith in God. As one of the speakers at today's event, Ngeke hopes to inspire the audience with her personal journey and insights into women's empowerment. Ms. Ngeke Tosago, the floor is yours.
I think where we need to start is what marginalization is. Because when you talk of marginalization, I'm thinking of widows, I'm thinking of unemployed women, I'm thinking of differently abled women, I'm thinking of many, many things. Let me start by giving a definition of what marginalization is. Let me open the quotes. Marginalization is the process by which certain individuals or groups are pushed to the periphery of society and denied equal rights, opportunities, and resources. This can include discrimination based on gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, and other factors. I close quote. Let me start by giving some historical context in South Africa and worldwide. Women have faced systemic discrimination and marginalization throughout history, including unequal pay, limited access to education and employment opportunities, and lack of political representation. In many societies, women were considered the property of men and had limited legal and social rights. I am reminded of my mother, a woman of strength, who was not allowed to go to school because it was believed when she grows up she would be married, so it would be useless to educate her. This was the start of her struggle in life. She had to work as a domestic worker and later had to start selling fruits and vegetables in town, almost 70 kilometers from her home village. She was one of the first and only women to catch the 4 o'clock bus with men every morning to go to town to work for her children. This means she had to be up by 3 o'clock every morning. She always believed in the saying, the early bird catches the worm. The saying she still believes in and applies to date in her 80s. Although she is illiterate, she loves education with a passion and would wake us up at 4 o'clock every morning when it was time for her to leave, for us to study before we went to school. This she applied to all her 6 children, I being the second. To date, she still pushes and encourages me to do my PhD and keeps on telling me that I should consider myself a dropout if I don't pursue and finish my doctoral studies. And I think I agree with her there. At the end of each day, before she could catch her bus back home, she would try to get into all the buses at the bus rank as quickly as possible and sell her fruits and veggies to the passengers before the buses could depart. There would be the 2 o'clock buses, the 16-hour ones, and the 18-hour ones. She would also sell these fruits and veggies in the bus she would catch coming home and arriving at 20 hours every evening. They used to call this bus ya Magema, literally meaning a bus for the mythical beings. She would still ask us if we did our homework when she arrived home. Our mothers are some of the unsung heroes, but they are definitely our heroes. And little did I know that she was slowly but surely instilling the spirit of entrepreneurship in me. This woman of substance would be harassed by the police, who would help themselves to her fruits and veggies and scatter some all over the place because he did not have a permit to sell in town. She would be arrested and would spend some days in prison, but she was resilient and remained resolute. I believe I have taken after her. So now, coming to today's event, the 1956 Women's March in South Africa was a pivotal moment for the country's women's rights movement, and it paved the way for other women as follows. It raised awareness of women's issues. The march brought attention to the injustices and inequalities faced by women under apartheid, particularly women of color, and helped to mobilize support for women's rights. It demonstrated that women could organize and demand change. The women of South Africa were able to challenge patriarchal norms. The march challenged the idea that women were subservient to men and should not have a voice in public affairs. The march empowered women to fight for their rights. It inspired women across South Africa to become more politically active and engage in resistance against apartheid laws. Many women joined political organizations and became leaders in the fight for freedom and equality. I am reminded of Mama Sophia Teresa Williams, the brain, one of the leaders of the 1956 Women's March, a woman of strength, whom I had the opportunity to work with at the Gauteng Provincial Legislature in 2006. If I'm not mistaken, she is the only surviving leader of the 1956 women-led march against the past laws. The 1956 Women's March still serves as a powerful inspiration for empowering women today. Because of the march, we are here today celebrating female bravery and leadership of women who participated in the march. This is such a powerful inspiration to us as we are inspired as women to stand up for our rights and fight for change. Highlighting women's contributions to history, the march shows that women have always played a critical role in history, even in the face of incredible adversity. This serves as a reminder that women's voices and perspectives are essential for creating a more just and equitable society. By organizing and carrying out the 1956 march, the women of South Africa were able to empower women to take action. By taking to the streets and demanding change, the women of the march showed that they were not content to remain marginalized and that they were willing to fight for their rights and to take the ball and run with it. Here are some practical steps that we can take as women to overcome the challenges of being marginalized. Let's educate ourselves and others about gender inequality. Let's start by learning about the history and present day issues related to gender inequality and share this knowledge with others to raise awareness. Brighten the corner where you are. Let's advocate for policies that promote gender equality. Let's work with policymakers, companies, and organizations to advocate for policies that promote gender equality, such as equal pay, parental leave, and anti-discrimination laws. Let's support female-led businesses and organizations. This will help to promote gender equality and create opportunities for women to succeed. Let's mentor and support other women. Let's offer our knowledge and experience to support other women in our fields, whether through formal mentorship programs or informal networking opportunities. Let's use our voices to speak up against sexism and discrimination. When we see or hear sexist comments or behaviors, let's not be afraid to call them out and promote a more respectful and inclusive environment. Let's create inclusive and diverse spaces. Let's seek out and support initiatives that promote diversity and inclusion in our workplaces, communities, as well as in our personal lives. This can help create a more welcoming environment for all people, regardless of their gender, race, or background. Let's embrace intersectionality and recognize that gender inequality is not a one-dimensional issue, but intersects with other forms of discrimination, such as racism, classism, and ableism. In conclusion, overcoming the marginalization of women will take concerted effort from all of us. By educating ourselves and others, advocating for policies that promote gender equality, supporting female-led businesses and organizations, mentoring and supporting other women, and using our voices to speak up against sexism and discrimination, we can create a more equitable and just society for everyone. Let's commit to taking these steps together, and let's use our collective power to empower and uplift women everywhere. Let's fix each other's crowns. Women, you are powerful. Do not relegate your power. You are beautiful. You are victorious. You are enough. You are created. You are strong. You are amazing. You are capable. You are chosen. And you are never alone. Wathinti abafazi, wathinti imbogodo. You strike a woman, you strike a rock. Kialeboga, danki, nyabonga, ndolibua, ndiabulela, hakensa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nkeke Tosafo, for reminding us of the background of the marginalization of women and just reminding us of how women in our past and present continue to break barriers.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm so happy that we have such a session as this. I just don't know how can I be connected. I'm also an entrepreneur who is still in the almost finished processing, who is almost finished processing my documents. So I want someone to guide me as I go along the starting part of the business.
Sanudi, I think in that regard, I would appreciate that you contact me and then we talk about that, because I'll need to ask you a lot of questions as to where you are and what documents you're talking about and so on and so on. So feel free to actually write me an email or talk to me in private and then we can discuss that. Okay, you can send your email to send, that is THOSAND at unisa.ac.za.
Next up, we have our next speaker, Ms. Sindiswa Makubalo. Sindiswa Makubalo is the head of department for the FSCA Banks and Payment Providers Supervision Division, with over 20 years of professional experience spanning across financial services, regulatory and compliance risk management spaces. She has worked in various positions, managing critical strategic operations both in South Africa and broader Africa. Sindiswa is a commercially astute leader with a demonstrated history of working across multiple functions in the financial services industry. She is skilled at formulating effective strategies, creating a high-performance culture, developing and maintaining strong key stakeholder relationships, driving the implementation of a strong governance and compliance culture, as well as identifying and retaining talent. Sindisa's passion lies in understanding the client value chain from acquisition to maintenance. She holds a Master of Business Administration degree, an MBA, honors degree economics, Bachelor of Commerce, a postgraduate diploma in insolvency law, diploma in compliance management, and national diploma in marketing. Sindiswa is highly proficient in market conduct issues and seeks to promote the fair treatment of customers in her areas of focus. I hand it over to you, Ms. Sindiswa Makubara.
If I was in the room, we're all going to stand up now and we were going to sing a song that says, "Be bright in the corner where you are, be bright in the corner where you are," because as women, we are placed and positioned in different areas, and there's a call for us, to really shine wherever we are at every opportunity that we have. And with those words, I'd like to greet you. I'd like to thank the colleagues who have invited me here. Unisa is my home. It is where I got my undergrad and my honors, so I love it so much. So thank you so much for having me here. The colleagues have asked me to touch on women and financial independence in South Africa. Now, when we talk of financial independence, hey, Kosiam, we know it's a big, big, big challenge. Whether it's at work, in communities, at church, in societies, it's a huge, huge issue. I was listening on the radio in the last few days where they were talking about the unemployment rates, and it was quite saddening and disheartening to when you kind of unpack those numbers. Majority of that is women. And I think that is why it is so profound that we really, have a conversation on this topic to make sure that as women we stand and we rise and we continue being bright in everywhere where God has placed us. So just why is it important for us to understand the financial independence? And I thought I looked at just few small things about what it would give us in terms of just having a full, control of our lives. I think if we look at the gender-based violence stats, a number of those women are in those situations because, they have the situation is placing them to have focus or place reliance on other people, and as such, they kind of get impacted with those gender-based violence activities because they are not able to really stand on their own. As well, if you look at our, socio-economic landscape in South Africa, I visit quite a lot of rural areas. I meet quite a lot of women in those rural areas. And when you look at just the socioeconomic landscape in our country, you realize that there is a need for more women really to achieve this financial independence. But how do we do it? If you can go back, I think you've gone slides forward. If you can just stick at the cover page for me. If I can just give you a context as well in South Africa. I mean, for many years, my grandmother used to share a story that, you know, back in the days, the husbands would go and work in the mines, like my grandfather worked at the mines, and they will be left at home. They will be left to feed and to look after the children. And it really took time for women to really enter the marketplace. And that is why today we see so much of gender disparities that have really remained so prevalent, particularly in income levels. Today, we do see two people, a woman and a male, doing the same job. And in many instances, you have a woman who's doing far greater. But when you look at the salaries, you kind of see, you know, just huge and glaring disparities of the two. So that's the biggest issue we have. And in the surveys that we've done, we've realized that the access to financial services, and I heard the questions from the ladies that were asking questions. The access to financial services for women remains a challenge today in South Africa. And I think it has a lot to do with us as women kind of coming later into the economic activity because our roles were deemed to be at home, looking after children and looking after homes, and things are starting to change. One of the biggest issues that I'm kind of personally focusing on is the fact that in most companies, whether it's schools, whether it's private, public places, what you see in these companies is that there is fewer and fewer women that are occupying the senior roles. When you go up, you know, in terms of your exco levels, you see there that there's less and less women that are taking up the space, which means we are still facing quite a lot of barriers in terms of us accessing, you know, the right credit, the right financial products, as well as building the wealth that we are supposed to do. But when I compare that globally, I realize that, you know, whilst it may look like it is now, we've made kind of a good, notable progress in terms of improving the financial inclusion for women, but gaps still remain. I still challenge quite a lot of banks to say, do you have programs that are designed to really only focus for women, to assist women, to uplift women? If we look at the small and medium enterprises, look at those companies that are only owned by women. Are you, as the financial sector, focusing on really uplifting these women? So I think we've done a lot in South Africa to close those gaps, but I think we still have, you know, quite a large number of gaps that we still need to close and make sure that all women have equal opportunity to participate fully in the economy. Now, if we go to the next slide for me, which is talking to the challenges, and some that I've touched briefly. The wage gap is an issue, like I mentioned. The underrepresentation in leadership roles is still an issue, which then means that, you know, when you look at us and you look at the opposite gender, in terms of how quickly we rise up, it's a challenge. In terms of how we accumulate wealth, it's a challenge. In terms of how we access, you know, these financial services, it still remains a challenge for us. There's also what I term limited financial literacy. I mean, we've been to Limpopo, we've been to Eastern Cape, we've been to KZN. And for me, this still stands out that there is lack of knowledge amongst women generally in terms of them making proper, you know, informed decisions about what they want to do. So if we can work hard in terms of promoting financial literacy, and I'm even taking it a step further down to say we started at root levels. We started where our children are at primary school, where we really teach them about financial literacy, so that as they grow up to be the women of this country, they are able to make much more informed decisions around their finances. If I look at the cultural barriers, like I said, we spend a lot of time having taught that, you know, your place is at the kitchen. Even when I got married years back, you were taught that your place is in the house. You've got to do everything in the house to make it warm, and that's great, and that's needed. That's what we have to do. But then we also, I mean, we have transitioned from that. We have to really look at those barriers that are restricting us as women to participate fully in terms of economic participation, but also for us to have the right decision-making powers that are today hindering our dependence. If you do see, when you go into the villages, a lot of young girls, you know, you're like, this girl should still be at school, but you look at this girl, she's already wearing the makoti attire, because there is no other way. The only way is for me, as that young makoti, to get married so that I can earn a living. And we have to do a lot to shift that. We have a duty to make sure that our children understand that they have a voice, they can make an impact, but we've got to empower them on the financial side to make sure that they understand what it means to be financially independent, what it means to build your own wealth, what it means to then work hard so that you are able to be financially sound. And I'm saying these things with much appreciation, that it is not easy. It is not easy when you're trying to start up and you go home and you've got mouths to feed. You've got children that are looking up to you. And in most women today, like the mother who raised me was a single woman, a single mother who had 4 children, who had to make sure that we are fed every day, but still go out and work and come back. So I'm appreciating all those challenges, but I'm saying there's a need for us to really start breaking the cultural barriers that have really hindered our growth and the speed in terms of how we've grown as women. If you also take me to the next slide, I looked at the importance of this independence. I think, I mean, all of us in this call will agree. When you have money, you have freedom. You have freedom. I mean, it's a case of, you know, I can make my own decisions. I can wake up, I can decide tomorrow that, you know, this is where I'm taking my kids. And I'm calling for every woman here. We have to get to this space. We have to get to the space where we say, I can do it on my own. I can push it. I don't have to rely on this man and that person to make it work. Last week, I listened to a lady in Soweto, and she was telling us how she started to sell, you know, an archer. I mean, her business started with selling archer at 50 rands. And she says she never, ever believed that through her selling archer, she can make 300 rands a day. And she says, I cannot believe that I've managed to change the situation back at home in Limpopo through selling archer. She's told us that, you know, I couldn't believe that last year alone, I sold 8,000 avocados. I used to go home in a bus with avocados, come sell them in Joburg. What personal freedom can you achieve with that? I mean, these avocados, when you go to Limpopo, they're on the trees, they are available. It just took a decision to say, I am tired of the way I'm living, I'm going to do something about it. And when she testified and shared how much freedom she has gotten through that, it was mind-blowing. So I do call for that, to say, look, don't look far. Don't look at the big projects. Don't look at the big things. Look at the small things where you can start making difference. It's going to require you, it's going to require much from you to stand up, to put in more work. But don't look for big things. Look for small things. If somebody could sell 8,000 avocados, that she goes home, she gets, she loads, she comes, sells, go back, and was able to build what she has built for her parents. I think for me, I took so much learnings from that. So I really want to applaud applaud the ladies in the room to say there is so much autonomy and control you'll get just by making sure that you have that financial independence. When you need to go buy bread, you go to your bag. You don't have to go and beg someone. That is where this ill treatment comes around, because we have no other choice. So if it's one thing you're going to remember about me today, is that I am calling for us as women to make sure we have a choice, we have an alternative, we have an option, and that is within our hands. We can do it, and no one cannot do it. It's all in our hands, and we're going to go back and look around ourselves and say, what is it that I can do? If you do allow me to share, just even take it back to the Bible. When God asked Moses and said, what is it that you have in your hand? And that's a question I'm putting to every woman today, to say, what is it that is in your hand that you can go out there and use so that you can make sure that you have this financial independence? If we move to the next slide. So I've spoken about, and this is some of the work that we're doing where I work at the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. I'm a big champion of the 3 strategies that I've put here. And the first one is financial literacy. And that's why we spend a bit of our time outside the offices, where we go and speak to women and empower women on the financial wealth and financial knowledge. We visit churches, we visit anywhere we can find group of women that we can talk to and make sure they understand, they are empowered, they have full knowledge. But again, I did mention earlier on that my other role, because my role is to supervise banks, so all banks in South Africa must make sure that they do right by people. So my other role is to say, Mr. Bank, Absa Bank, Standard Bank, Nedbank, what is it that you are doing particularly for women? You have to demonstrate to us that, there is specific programs or specific products that you are really putting aside just for women. Because if we don't do that and look for plain fields and saying, we have to accept it, ladies, that we are not at the same levels with men. They have started working far way before us. And I'm talking about our grandparents. So we are pushing the agenda of saying, make sure that the ladies have got access to banking, have got access to credit, have got access to investment opportunities, and so forth. But lastly, we have a role because we are an extension of government. So for us, it's important that, the policies that we come up to are policies also that promote women financial inclusion. So that's other the role that we play. So in different corners where we are pushing the agenda of saying we have to make a point that our women in South Africa are included financially, and therefore our women will be able to attain what we call financial independence. And that means we have a role to play to be deliberate and very intentional about the policies that we put in place that will force every public or every private entity to make sure that we look after women in the right way. The next slide. You can pass, yes, yeah. So if I look at the empowerment through education, so we are at Unisa, and I shared that this is my school. The team that I work with, if it is one thing that I make sure that I do in my little corner, is making sure that, they get bursaries to study. I am obsessed with education. I'm obsessed with making sure that a girl child rises. And I do know that a girl child will not rise if there is no education. So I'm really calling on us, for us here, for our children, to really, really drive the agenda of education, because when we are empowered through education, we are in a better place to make better decisions. We are in a better place to understand, to have the right skills. We're in a better place to better manage our finances effectively. So for me, education is the key driver, not only for us, but for the many generations to come. So I have put a sort of a mark for me to say, if it is one thing that I must do, I'm a support. So I support kids, high school kids. I've got a group of kids that I adopt at high school, and I take them through tertiary, because for me, it's important that even in my own personal capacity, I make sure that we are empowered through education. So please, wherever you are, if you can adopt a child, adopt a girl child, because it's going to start with the education, where we empower everyone through education to make sure they understand. There is no way you'll understand interest rates. There's no way we can talk about how you must budget. There's no way we can talk about saving if you don't even understand what those things mean. This is why I'm saying the education for me becomes quite critical. If you go to the next slide for me. What is our role as the FSCA? So FSCA stands for Financial Sector Conduct Authority. We're based in Pretoria, and we are a conduct regulator that is very important, focused on making sure that consumers, customers are treated fairly. So for us, if you look at gender equality, I'm the ambassador for that. So we're playing a very crucial role using the regulatory instruments that we have to make sure that we support gender equality. If I walk to a room, colleagues, if I walk to a room and it's full of men, trust me, I will not leave that room without challenging them to say, are you happy that you are with us in this meeting and you are all men? How do you feel about what role are you playing to make sure that as men in this room, you are lifting up the women? So I was very excited when the opening that was done by one of the males today, who I believe supports this agenda, and really pulling all men to say, please support us in the fight against gender equality. So that's the role that we play at the FSCA, and making sure, like I said, there's fair access. We've even gone to a stage of looking the rate at which banks will grant loans to males versus to females. And we're saying, why is this gap so wide? Why is this thing so big? And that's the role we play as the regulators. And most importantly, consumer protection, making sure that, we protect the consumers, we protect yourselves against financial abuse, we protect the women's financial well-being. And those are the small things that we play in our small corners to make sure that we contribute to the agenda that we are talking about today. The last slide is a call that I have for everyone. If you can go to the last slide for me. Colleagues, we can't do this thing alone. So we cannot do it. Unisa can't do it alone. FSCA can't do it alone. The government can't do it alone. This requires a collective and a collaborative effort to remove these barriers, to promote the financial inclusion and financial initiatives for South Africa. I think if we all tell ourselves that we are going to play a supportive role, we are going to be deliberate about fostering supportive environments, we are going to be deliberate about empowering women so that they achieve their financial goals, I think as the country as a whole, we have a brighter future. So for me, the call is that in the corners that you are at, in the corners that you are, please make sure that you really do your bit to lift your women. If you are in a church and there are many women that are not working, understand their skills, understand what they are good at, understand what they are good, and really do your bit to make sure that you lift. Together we can rise. And with all that, I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to engage with you so much. Thank you so much. I will take your questions.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lihumo, and I'm working along with Vasetsana. Thank you so much, Sindiswa, for the wonderful message about women and their power and their strength and their resilience. We really appreciate that message. Can we have 5 minutes question and answer?
Thank you so much. What a wonderful platform, and good morning to everybody. I think as of late, the words spoken by Sindiswa and the speaker before that are actually personally just something that I needed to just, repurpose, reignite, and just refresh my passion, as well as, looking at how to bring up other women as well, those who are behind us and so forth and whatnot. So I think I just want to ask Ms. Makubal, I feel being in a position where I am in a working environment, and I financially, I can sort of make a living for myself. I think what I want to ask, and something that always doesn't come across, is how before you can even uplift others, right? Before you can even lend a helping hand to others, how do you find it? How important is it for me as a person to have, for example, my own mentor, so to fill into my own cup first before I can look at uplifting others? Because I do believe that you cannot pour from an empty cup. And how do you go about identifying exactly who can mentor you, or who can also help you to fill into yourself, so that you can empower your own self, and then therefore be able to then empower others as well?
Can I come in? If I can come in there, thank you so much, Zinhle, for that question. I'm a greatest believer that when women support each other, incredible things happen. And for you to be able to lift others, you've got to be full, because like you say, an empty cup, it's difficult to work from. And I think for me, the courage, the encouragement I'll give you, or the direction I'll give you, is to say you have to identify that one person that you can look up to. You have to be able to identify and see who is my role model, who I can look up to, and make sure that I go in to feel them, because it's like a chain. Even that person has got that person that they go to feel from. But it's important that as you feel yourself, you understand the role you have to play, and you never ignore that call, because there's a role you have to play, but you've got to also look after yourself. You've got to also look after your finances. You've got to make sure that if I'm going to start giving to other people, I make sure that my finances are in order. And it's a journey. Yeah, there's a lot of things we could talk about that I chose not to talk about here, to say, how do you start with budgeting? How do we start living within your means? How do you start accepting that I don't have this today, and it can wait, and it's okay for me not to have it. I will have it when it's the right time for me to have it. And that is a journey that if we as women can learn. If my daughter wants this shoe because she has seen somebody at school wearing it, how do I train my kids that it's okay for you not to have it now? When the right time comes, you will have it, because we tend to rush because of pressure, because we want to compensate, because we want to, we have to really, really go back to basics to say, I don't have it, and I'm not going to go boring. And I'm going to learn to live within my means. And to do that, Zinhle, there must be somebody who also fills your cup, so that you are able to fill the people that have been ordained for you to lift. Thank you so much for that question.
We also have a question on the chat. So they're asking is, where does one start with becoming financially literate? I think this question is directed at Miss Cindy's one.
Yes, thank you so much for that. And I think it starts with this basic financial education. So for instance, where you bank, we've kind of pushed banks now to say, have basic financial education on your website. Because just like the question I was speaking to Ms. Zinhle now, to say, if I am earning 300 rands, I've got to be able to document first, take a piece of paper and a pen, sit there on your couch or on your bed, and be able to write, what is it that I have to pay every month? Now, this is basic, and this does not need school. It just needs us to understand, what is it that I have to pay every month? And you've got to get to the habit of writing down. If you can, you write down on a paper, on a book, have a book, a financial book that you keep very closely where kids don't see it. And this book I keep, this is where I do all my budgeting and planning. But all my budgeting and planning cannot exceed at any point in time the 300 rands that I make every month. Because the minute we start financing things with loans, the minute we start financing things with money that is not ours, it means we have started to move and live beyond our means. So we have to be able to document and know what my cost per month cost me. And once you start that, is the beginning of the wisdom when we talk financial literacy, because you are now a person who's able to say, I earn, my income per month is 360, but my expenses per month are 400. What is it that I need to start cutting down? What is it that I need to reduce? If I used to buy my kids Oros, and I like Oros as an example because it does not last even a week. So I said to the girls, I'm stopping to buy Oros because whether I buy it, it gets finished within a week. So there's no point. So you start looking, what can I cut down? But it's going to be very important that your household, you have those conversations, because kids can have unrealistic expectations from us. They want this, they want that. So I do think that it's important first to understand, what do I have, which is my income, whether I'm selling, whether I'm earning, what are my expenses? And the minute the expenses are over your income, please know there is a problem. It's calling for you to do something. It's calling for you to look at your expenses differently. But please never go and finance things outside the income that you have. If you've got your families and relatives, even a church, in community, please discourage them from going to the people that borrow money and say it's 30% increase or 40% increase. That is a rip-off. If you can teach them to say, stay away from Mashonisa. If you don't have this month, you don't have it, and you accept and you allow. There's a lot I could talk about in terms of the tools you can use. But I think to the lady, if you can go back today and just do that exercise, if it's going beyond, then you will understand there's something that is wrong. And I'm going to ask Basetsana if you can, I can put my email on the chat. So if you want us to just engage further, or me to share a bit of tools and bit of ways we can work around things, I'll gladly do that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sindiswa and Ms. Basetsana. Right now, we are going to call upon Ms. Tebagano Mokhatle. Before calling her, I'm going to read a bio of her. Ms. Tebagano Perseverance Mokhatle is currently interning in counseling department at the University of South Africa. She earned her undergraduate degree in psychology from Northwest University in 2021 and completed her honors in community and health psychology at the University of South Africa in 2022. Her interest fields include psychopathology, psychopathology, and research psychology. Tebagano inspires to become a research psychologist or clinical psychologist, drawing inspiration from her interactions with various professional psychologists across different domains in South Africa. Ms. Tebagano Mokhatle is going to give us an artistic piece. There's a recording of her artistic piece.
Through fire and storm, she rises. She embodies effortless beauty and is unapologetically the finest version of herself. Clothed in strength, she ventures into every area with fearlessness. Her voice, graceful yet firm, echoing across the world, shattering limitations and boundaries imposed on women. Her thoughts are filled with tranquility, and her hands craft timeless tools. Every step she takes leaves an unfading mark, sparking radical change. Her impact is imprinted into history, ever expanding in the present and influencing future generations. Who is she? She is a woman. To all the women who have paved the way for other women today, your contributions have opened doors in countless fields and industries. Your efforts are deeply appreciated. Let us continue with the same enthusiasm, supporting and uplifting one another. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bahano Mokhatle, for the wonderful piece. Please put love on the platform, put hands, put everything on the platform. So, because we are celebrating women, we are celebrating their resilience, their power, their energy. We are celebrating everything about women. So please put love for Mr. Bahano Mokhatle for me. Without further ado, we're going to call Miss Jula Mabena, who is going to tell us about breaking the glass ceiling law profession. I'm going to hand over the bio to Ms. Vasana Ntlhoro to read for us about Miss Jula Mabena.
Jula Mabena is an accomplished legal and tax professional, currently serving as a senior manager at Ernst & Young. Jula also holds a BCom Law and LLB from the University of South Africa. Balancing her studies with legal articles at Bevan and Associates and MRR, she completed both her articles and LLB simultaneously. Jula began her career at EY in the tax controversy team, later joining ENS Africa, Africa's largest law firm. She returned to EY to lead the tax controversy and dispute practice. Her expertise has led to successful resolutions in the tax court and Supreme Court of Appeal with significant achievements during audit and objection phases, saving clients from prolonged litigation and high costs. Jula enjoys solo travel and trying new things. She also ran a feeding scheme for the homeless in her hometown, showcasing her commitment to community service. Her adventurous spirit and philanthropic efforts highlight her dedication to enriching both her life and the lives of others. Jula Mabena, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. I am so happy to be here today to be speaking amongst the wonderful women that have spoken before me, and I'm sure those that are going to speak after me as well. Hello to the incredible women that are here today. As we gather here today to celebrate women, I am proud of the remarkable strength and resilience and the potential that resides in each and every one of us. It is both an honor and a privilege to be before you today, not just as a legal professional, but as a woman. As mentioned, my name is Jula Mabena, and today I want to share with you my journey, one that has been filled with challenges, triumph, and invaluable lessons. My hope is that by sharing my experiences, I can at least inspire one person here today in your own potential and to pursue your dreams with unwavering determination. My journey began right here at Unisa. Like many of you, I juggled the demands of academic life with other responsibilities. I pursued my BCom Law and LLB while completing my legal articles, which was not an easy task. There were days where I questioned whether I could manage it all, when the weight of the expectations felt too heavy to bear. But it was during those moments of doubt that I discovered the true meaning of resilience. I learned that resilience isn't about never failing, it's about refusing to give up, no matter how difficult the path may seem. As a woman in law, I quickly realized that the profession wasn't always welcoming to someone like me. There were barriers, both visible and invisible. But instead of letting those obstacles deter me, I saw them as opportunities to prove my self-worth. I carved a path for myself in tax dispute and controversy, where I found my passion for helping clients navigate complex legal challenges. Along the way, I achieved success, which I am deeply proud of. However, my journey hasn't just been about my professional achievements. I've always believed in the importance of giving back to the community. Whether it is running a feeding scheme for the homeless in my hometown or mentoring young women, I found that the most rewarding success are those that uplift others. Today, I stand before you as a legal professional, not only as a legal professional, but as a woman that has broken through the glass ceilings of the legal profession. I want to share with you some of the lessons that I've learned along the way, and hopefully that you can apply some of them. 1, embrace your power. You're stronger than you think you are. Don't let anyone convince you that you are less capable because of your gender. You have the power to achieve greatness. Believe in it, own it, and let it guide you. 2, resilience is key. The journey won't always be easy. You will face setbacks and challenges that may seem overwhelming, but resilience, the determination to keep going despite the odds, will carry you through. 3, your path is unique. Don't be afraid to forge your own path, even if it's different from what others expect of you. There is space for you to be unique and bring your own perspective and view. 4, I think this is something that was mentioned by the lady that spoke before me, is that we need to support one another. As women, we are often told that we must compete with each other. I challenge you to reject this notion. Lift each other up and celebrate each other's successes, and create a network of support and solidarity. And the last one, number 5, is giving back. Success is not just about personal achievement, it's about making the difference in the lives of others. Find a way of giving back in your community, even if it's just by mentoring other people. As we celebrate women here today, let's remember that the glass ceiling is unbreakable. You are capable of achieving whatever it is that you put your mind to. With resilience, determination, and commitment to excellence, we can shatter the glass ceiling, creating a world where the next generation of females can be even more successful than the people on this call here today. To the women here today, your journey is just at its genesis. It is filled with endless possibilities. Embrace it with confidence, with courage, and knowledge that you are capable of achieving anything that you put your mind to. And with that, I am done. So I'm welcome to take any questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the words that we just heard now. Being someone who's quite passionate about the legal field, and looking at women as well, and we're just looking at the role of a woman in the legal field, in leadership roles, and so forth. I just wanted to find out now: do you find that there's a vast representation of women within the legal field? And if the answer is not, from your side, what do you think is the drive behind that, or the reason behind having such less representation of female in the legal field?
Thank you, Sinclair. So I think the answer to that is yes and no. So if you look at the older generation of lawyers, attorneys, advocates, you'd find that it's predominantly white males, right? But you will see as you go younger and younger and lower in the ranks, you're finding more and more females are taking up space in those areas, which is beautiful to see, because part of the reason why you've got the older males at the top is because at some point we were restricted from practicing law. So now you're seeing that women are taking up the opportunity to practice law, and we're coming up slowly but surely, right? So if I look at it from my perspective, when I worked at ENS, which is the largest law firm in Africa, the partnership percentage of the ratio of men versus women, they had like a 51% women split. So slowly but surely, women are infiltrating the space, which is a beautiful thing to see. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it is. And it's quite, thank you. It's nice to hear. There's hope.
So I think it may take a time for us to see it fully, because of the restrictions that were there previously. But I think women are really working in their stride to make their presence felt in the legal field.
Yeah, thank you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for your questions, Zintle.
Thank you so much. There's a question on our chat box by Witumelo Kunadi, who's asking you, what has been the highlight of your legal profession?
The highlight of my legal profession. I think I'm trying to think. So I practice predominantly in tax. So the only opponent I've ever had is SARS, right? And every year SARS publishes their stats about their wins in court cases. So court cases, SARS says they have a 70% success rate when they take up taxpayers. And at the beginning of this year, I did my stats to say when I decide that when clients decide that they're going to challenge SARS and they use my services, what is my success rate? I have an 89% success rate against SARS, which I think is pretty commendable. And I think that's one of the highlights of my career, just looking back and taking stock of what I've managed to achieve, because I think sometimes we don't acknowledge the hard work that we've put in, and we undermine our achievements. So that was a nice thing to take stock of, that 89% success rate.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Jula Mabena. This is such a wonderful, empowering story that you have told us about embracing your power, taking control, knowing that you can achieve, knowing that we are resilient, we can do it, we can be more, we can be something big. So that's very beautiful.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to ask if anyone who wants to maybe ask any question regarding a law profession.
My question to Jula then is that I want to know how many years does it take for a lawyer to become a prosecutor? What I'm saying is, I want to know, for a lawyer to become a prosecutor or an advocate, how many years does it take?
Okay, perfect. So in order to become so it's two different things that you've asked me. You said a prosecutor and advocate, né? So prosecutor are people that represent on behalf of the state. So if you see matters on TV where it's the state versus an individual, prosecutors are the person that represent the state, and that takes, you have to do a 4-year LLB, and then post your LLB you need to do the prosecutor program, which was actually just opened again yesterday, and that takes 2 years of training for you to become a fully fledged prosecutor. And then in order for you to become an advocate, on the other hand, you still do your 4-year LLB. And then post your 4-year LLB, you do 1 year of pupillage. I think the thing that people must bear in mind about pupillage is that you do not get paid in that 1 year of pupillage because you're shadowing other advocates. And so you just need to be financially prepared for that year that you're not going to get any income.
We have questions in the chat. So our first question for Jula, we have quite a few, sorry.
It's fine.
We have a question from Rudzani, and they're asking, what can you advise the new generation who would like to join law?
What can I advise? I think the perception that's going on in law at the moment, it's not a perception, it's the reality, is that it's very difficult to get articles, right? There's an influx of LLB graduates and not enough posts for people to complete their articles. And I don't think that should be a deterrent for you to not join the legal field, but I think you must just be open to taking different routes. Just because you have an LLB, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do articles. As I said, when I was speaking to Kansani, you can take the route of becoming a prosecutor. I think if I read that article correctly, there's like 2,000 posts that are open now for LLB graduates to become prosecutors. You can take the route of becoming an advocate. And that doesn't necessarily, I mean, that's also, there's a vigorous application that goes into that as well. And you can also just be an in-house counsel for one of the big companies. So take a multi-choice, for instance, they need people with legal backgrounds to work in their legal department. So you don't necessarily need to always go work at a law firm. So I don't think that should be the restriction in space and getting articles shouldn't be your deterrent from being in the legal field. So I just don't give up hope.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much for that, Ms. Julia Mabena.
An absolute pleasure.
So up next, we have Ms. Vusiwe Ngobo, who will be speaking to us about the rise of women in sports. I'd just like to introduce her briefly right now. Vusiwe Ngobo is a television personality, singer, and lawyer, popularly known for her time presenting on Open Varsity, YoTV, Harambe, and as the current sports presenter on SABC Sports. Vusiwe studied law at the University of Johannesburg and has been working as a finance and banking lawyer at Clive Decker Hofmeyer, Joburg, since 2014. Vusiwe is multifaceted with experience in the law profession as well as the entertainment industry, which she balances so well. She has commentated for the Olympics, World Cups, and various other major sporting events. Actually, if she could open up her camera, I think most of us would be able to recognize her from her television show Ofuze, which she starred in with her siblings from the popular Maskandi group Amaponi. Can we please just have a warm welcome and react to Miss Vusiwe Ngobo? Miss Vusiwe Ngobo?
I would open up my camera, but I must mention to you, I was actually still on my way home driving from a shoot this morning. I was doing an interview with one of the sprinters that won silver for South Africa at the Paralympic Games, Bayanda Walaza, at his high school in Pretoria. So we just had a little bit of a time delay, and I've literally had to park my car on the side of the road. It's safe. But yeah, I would open up the camera, but that's the reason why I prefer not to at this moment. Okay, so good morning, everyone. First of all, I'm so delighted to be able to discuss a topic that is both personally and professionally significant to me, which of course is the rise of women in sport. So my journey in television began at a very young age. I was 15 years old, stepping into the world of television on kids' TV, which was Yo TV. And I want to speak about my journey starting from Yo TV because I feel it's a journey that a lot of people come across, and I think as humans we generally think that our experiences are unique to us, but it's a path that has been forged by so many before us, and we stand on the shoulders really of those that have come before us. So for me, I started out in music, as mentioned in the introduction. I grew up in a family where both my parents were in the music industry and were massive musicians. My mom was a pop artist back then. They referred to it as bubblegum music, known as Ebony. And my dad is a traditional Zulu music artist known as Eashile Mhlope. So growing up, we were just always surrounded by music, my siblings and I. So one day our parents went away on tour. Generally, we were allowed to travel with them if we were on school holidays, but this time around we weren't on school holidays, so we were left behind. They went on tour. When they came back, my siblings and I had put together a demo because we said amongst the four of us, what mom and dad do seems so simple. They get on stage, they sing, everyone gets excited, and that's it, you know? So we thought, why can't we do it? I mean, we love music, we love singing. Surely we can pull it off. And we put together our demo. When they came back, we played it for them. We put together a dance routine. And my parents were like, perhaps there's something going on there. And at the time, my mom was signed with Gallo Music, my dad was with Sony, and they took the demos to their respective companies, and the companies were just like, we don't think there's a market for what your children are trying to do in the South African music space. Because what we did is we put together the music that we grew up listening to and the music that we liked. And it was a little bit of Maskandi. We're a Christian family. It had a little bit of gospel. My brother thought he was Tupac, so there was a bit of rapping. And it really just encompassed everything that we collectively, as four different young individuals, liked and enjoyed in music. And the companies were like, no, it's not going to happen. obviously at the age of 7, you can only imagine you're devastated because you've put in so much effort into what you've put out and then you are rejected. And our parents saw how devastated we were by this rejection, and they decided that they were going to fund our first project themselves. So they fund this project. We release the album. We call ourselves Amaponi because my dad is actually Mhlope, which means white horse. So we thought, okay, because we his children, let's call ourselves Amaponi, which translates to ponies. And we put out our first album. It was a massive success across South Africa, even other parts of Southern Africa. And we got the opportunity to travel the world, not only with just the four of us, young siblings, but my parents as well, because then my mom became our manager and my dad used to play the guitar for us. And it is one of the most beautiful experiences you'll have because you get to have so much quality time as a family. And I think to this day, that's why we're such a solid family unit. And those that have watched our reality show on DSTV can attest to this. I mean, we literally live as one. So it was a couple of years into music that I thought I want to explore what else is out there for me in entertainment because I found it to be a fascinating world. And that's what I tried to get onto YoTV. And we had an interview one day on YoTV. I told the producer, I'd love to be a YoTV presenter. Please call me in for auditions when you have auditions. And he said to me, yes, I will. And then a couple of years passed by, he wasn't calling me, but I would always follow up and call him because I'd constantly see new presenters being introduced to YoTV. And eventually I said to my parents, can you please call him? Because perhaps he thinks I'm young and I'm naive and I'm uncertain about what I want, whereas I'm very certain that I want to be a YoTV presenter. So my parents picked up the phone, they called him, and he said the same thing to them. Yes, certainly, I'll call her. And he didn't. But one day out of the blue, he calls me and he says to me, I need you to meet someone here at your TV and at Urban Brew Studios. So I go and I meet the lady and she says, well, when I have auditions, I'll give you a call. At this point, I'm very dejected and I'm very discouraged. And this is something that happens in all of our careers, irrespective of what it is. You get to a point where you start to question yourself and say to yourself, is this the path I want for myself or is this the path that God wants for me? Because I'm a Christian girl, so my life and my guidance is always led from a God point of view. So that's the point that I had gotten to where I said, perhaps I want this for myself, but it's not in God's plans for me. And I was okay with that. A couple of months pass by. She calls me one evening and she says to me, listen, I've got a show tomorrow afternoon. It's a live show. None of the YoTV presenters are available. Can you do it? And I said to her, can I do it? Of course I can do it. And she gave me all the details and when she wanted me there. And I said, okay, perfect. I'll be there. I went there. I did the show. It was called Blue Couch. And that was the beginning for me as a YoTV presenter, because once I did that show, then I became the YoTV presenter that did Blue Couch. And then I moved on to doing Wild Room and Weekend Breakfast and a lot of other things. But the significance of me starting our chat on this part of the conversation is to just to say sometimes a delay in you being where you want to be is not an absolute no, it's never going to happen for you. But you also have to have a level of persistence and you have to have a level of fight. I knew deep down inside that given the opportunity, I would blow them away. And that's all I wanted, was to be given that chance. So I'm saying this to you now because if you ever get that chance, whether it's in television, in legal, or wherever it is, you need to take it with both hands and you need to run with it, because entertainment and television is one of those industries where you're not going to get a lot of chances. I mean, if you step into an audition and you fluff in the first couple of lines, they're just going to say to you, thank you for coming. They're not going to say, okay, calm down, breathe, let's do it again, because they've got a queue of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 people waiting also to do auditions. So you have to make sure that when that opportunity meets you and it finds you, that you are ready to give it your best shot. I always say to the young girls and boys that I mentor that if you ever put yourself forward for any position in life and you don't get it, you must be satisfied that you didn't get it because you were not what they were looking for, not because you let it slip through your fingers or you fumbled or you didn't put your best foot forward when the time arose for you to do that. So obviously I do YoTV for a couple of years. And then I say to myself, when I leave YoTV and I go into law school at UJ to do my LLB, all right. So I said to myself, I wanted to go into law school because I wanted to give myself options. I didn't want to always find myself in television only because I had no other options in life. So yes, I've studied, I've done my LLB, I've done my MBA at Stellenbosch Business School as well. Because I always feel in life you need to give yourself the best possibilities and the best chances ever, so that when you do something, it's because it's your passion and it's your love. And that's what I've always wanted television and sportscasting to be for me. I've never wanted it to be because I have no other option and nothing else that I can do. So I go into law school. While I'm at law school, I start calling around and saying, I love TV presenting, but something else I love just as much as sports. So why can I not try forge my way into this industry where I can do both of the things that I have a great passion for, which is sports and presenting. And at the time, I feel we didn't have a lot of representation from a female point of view in sports. I mean, we had a Carol Shabalala, who was Manana back then. We had a mom, Cynthia Chaka. There were very few and far between. But what I liked was that I could see myself in them. And I mean this from a color representation point of view, which is you also need to be able to rely on your ability to network, because networking becomes a very important uh, tool that you need to be able to utilize effectively. Because when I wanted to get into sport, I needed to start picking up the phone and calling a lot of people who I had built relationships over the years from when I was on YoTV to try and find, how do I get into SABC Sport? Who do you know there that you can introduce me to? Not because you want an easy way in, but just because you want a way in. And I've always said, everywhere I've gone, I don't want you to give me preferential treatment. I just want you to give me the chance. If you give me the chance and you say, well, she's just not good enough, then it's fine. Then I'll accept that and I'll walk away. But chances are I'll never not be good enough. Um, so I started calling around, and eventually I met a lady at SABC Sport, and she said to me, darling, I have a job for you, but it's a voiceover artist for a show called Sports Buzz, which is owned by SABC Sport. And I thought to myself, I've just come from kids' TV. I've been doing kids' TV for 5 years. Now you want me to be the voice of a cartoon that is a bee on a kids' TV show. And I had to, within myself, realize that, Vasiwe, you're not a sports presenter yet. You have not created a brand for yourself or a reputation for yourself as a sports presenter. So you are going to have to work your way up. And I was happy to do that. So I took the job as a voiceover artist on Sports Buzz. And what I loved about the contract was that even though I was a voiceover for Sports Buzz, the contract covered everything at SABC Sport. So if they ever were going to need a presenter to do a football show, my contract would cover it. If they needed someone to do the Comrades Marathon, my contract would cover it. And that's how it started out for me. And over the years, I must say, I've loved watching and seeing other young women also come up in the world of sports, and us just saying we want to own our success, because sometimes I feel as young women or women as general, we are so apologetic about the positions which we hold. And there's a difference between having an element of humility, which I think we all need to have. I'm very humble in everything that I do, but we also need to be proud enough to say, I have worked hard for everything that I have achieved, and be able to enjoy those achievements and not be apologetic in it. And there's a line that I like that people use a lot. They say, she owns her success. Because if you are able to own your success, you are encouraging the next woman to also come up and do the same thing. And by that, I think we're starting to change the mindset and the approach of women and what they do in the world of sports. I mean, last year, I won a G Sport Award for Women in Television in sport. And that's something that you work towards. Yes, it's not about the awards, but they do make a difference, because when you feel that people see what you do and they appreciate what you do, and that what you do inspires the next generation, I think it plays a huge role in you then wanting to also apply yourself better moving forward. So I do want to highlight not just the progress that we've made, but also the enduring qualities that drive this progress. And the rise of women in sport is a testament to resilience, hard work, and unwavering persistence. I once walked into a boxing ring as a ring announcer, and men frowned upon it. They said, "How dare you put a woman in the ring as a ring announcer?" And my response is, "How dare you not put a woman in the ring as a ring announcer, but you have the guts to want to put a woman in a costume and make her walk around the ring and tell you which round you're now fighting in?" So I think we've done a great job in laying and doing the groundwork for those that come after us to just be able to get into those positions of power and get into those positions of decision making in the boardroom, outside of the boardroom, on the field of play. You look at women in South Africa that have made a massive change. We had our very own footballer, Tembi Kgatlana, in the US when she moved from the US to Mexico, being one of the biggest transfers in women's football to date. And that's a South African young girl who came from a township where a lot of people thought there is no hope. But it is our hard work and our persistence and our resilience that continues to break those barriers. And if you leave here with nothing else today from any of the women you're going to hear speak, I want you to leave with knowing that you have the power to change the status quo, and only you are responsible for your success. I could talk all day because it's something I'm very passionate about, but I think I'll leave it there for now as we continue, of course, to see more women rise in sport. Let's celebrate their achievements and acknowledge the hard work and persistence that brought them here. And I believe that together we can pave the way for future generations and continue to champion the remarkable contributions of women in this dynamic and inspiring field, and just highlighting that as women, we need to support each other. It's so important for us to realize that celebrating another woman's success takes away absolutely nothing from your own, and it should never make you question your own success.
Wow, thank you so much, Miss Wusiwe. Persistence, resilience, and hard work, pushing women in sports. Those were the great messages they told us about pushing our boundaries, achieving, ensuring that we also can do it. If men can do it, we as well can do it. There's nothing that can stop us. There's nothing that can be against us. Those were the wonderful message, and we really, really appreciate this message. Please, if you have any question, you can raise a hand right now so that we can pick you up.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Mine is so short and simple. I just want to know, I'm a sports person. I run comrades, and I know this is not an easy sport. So from Buyiso, I want to find out why did she pick up sport since she's from a musical family? Thank you.
Okay, so that's a very nice, interesting question. Very simple to answer. I chose sport because um I've always liked to challenge myself, and I've always liked to challenge the status quo. I do think that at the time that I was coming up in music, there were already a number of young girls in music and women who were already breaking the barriers. But also, I think a part of me also realized that Amaboni was a group that we started when we were very young. And amongst ourselves, we said to ourselves, how long can we actually do music for? Because I think at the time, our mission was to inspire the young child who had a similar background to us, who was going through the similar young issues that young people go through. And I feel that Amaboni at the time we lived up to and fulfilled that mandate in inverted commas that we had set for ourselves. But where I saw a bigger challenge was in the world of sport, where there wasn't enough representation from a Black woman perspective. And that's what I wanted to change. And because I'd already delved into the world of presenting and I wanted to go further in it, but I wanted to do it in a way where I would feel it's meaningful. I'm like two extremes when it comes to presenting. I either want to do something that I feel will be challenging and meaningful and will open the door for many that will come after me, or I just want to have like fun and let it be frivolous and we must just play music and dance. So I'm like two extremes when it comes to presenting. So it's either all fun and games or we are breaking barriers, we're hitting the ground running, we're opening the door for so many people that come after us. And I felt it would be better for me to apply myself in the world of sports, which is something I'm very familiar with. And I always say to people, find something that you love and something that you're passionate about, then you're not going to feel like your job is a job. For me, when I wake up this morning and I'm told, okay, you're going to go to Bayanda Walaza's school, I don't have to do the homework from scratch already. I was in Paris for the Olympics. I got to spend quite a significant amount of time with the athletes because it's something that I'm passionate about. So nothing is ever going to feel to me like, oh my goodness, I have to go now understand who Bayanda Walaza is. Where does he come from? What did he do before this? Because I already know those things naturally out of my interest for sport and the passion that I have for what I do. And that's the reason why I went with sport, because it's just something that at the top of my head on any day I would know what's going on in the world of sport because I love it that much. Not that I didn't love law. I loved law and practicing. As a previous speaker still online, I love law and practicing. It was very interesting. But I do find that my passion lies more with television and broadcasting because sometimes we underestimate the reach that broadcasting has. When I was younger, it used to traumatize me because I used to get so much jail mail from people in jail telling me, your life inspires me. I want to be a better person because I've watched or listened or heard or read about your story and your family and your dad's background and your mom's background. But as I grew older, I started to realize that this is a platform that I have to reach millions of people that I will never meet, even some of them on any given day, but I have the platform to touch their lives and change their lives in a good way. And I think that's one of the things that I love and appreciate the most about what I do and the God given talent that God has given me. So I think it would be a waste for me to not use it and apply it. And it would always be almost be like saying to God, oh, well, God, I don't like this talent. And I never want to do that. I always want to be grateful for everything God has blessed me with, from the small things to the bigger things, and use them to better not only myself, but the next person as well.
Moving on, we are moving to Dr. Nunu Tipe, who's going to tell us about women in tennis. Right now, I'm going to ask Basitsana to read a bio for her.
Thank you for that, Lulumo. So, Dr. Nono Tibe, well, Dr. Nono, as we affectionately refer to her here on the Sunnyside campus, has completed her master's degree in counseling psychology with a sports major from the University of Pretoria in 2007 and registered with the HPCSA in 2008. She has been employed by the University of Pretoria as an intern psychologist and tennis coach, but is currently working as a student counselor right here at the University of South Africa. She's also previously worked at the Rosebank College as well as Vaal University of Technology as a student counselor as well, and has also toured internationally with tennis, but I'm sure she'll tell us more about that right now. Dr. Tipe, please take the platform.
Colleagues, I'm not going to take a lot of your time, and I'm also not going to talk about women in tennis, but I'm going to talk about myself in tennis to give you my first-hand experience. All right, I started tennis at a very young age of 13 at the previous regime called Buputatswana, for those who are probably my age would remember. I was the cream of the crop there, playing number one for the country, and I was privileged enough to start traveling at a very young age overseas and all around South Africa, playing this tennis. And then after that, after high school, I managed to secure myself a scholarship to study abroad in the US, but it was a tennis scholarship. And I went there and played college tennis, which usually feeds into professional tennis should someone be successful. But because of the 1994, what do I call it? South Africa gaining independence from the apartheid regime, then Bophuthatswana was sort of like dissolved into merging with the new South Africa, and funding became a bit of a challenge. So after the scholarship, because once on a scholarship like that, you have to balance school and tennis. So after I acquired the what is this thing? The BA. It was the end of the scholarship, so I came home because I couldn't fund myself further. I came home to join Tekis, continue studying. However, Tekis also saw it fit to also provide me with a tennis scholarship while I was there. Those who know Tekis, they have a high performing center. So they absorbed me there, and then I continued with the tennis. But at the time, I was just representing universities. And then in 2003, I was chosen as one of the females to represent all the universities in South Korea. And at the SASU, the then called SASU Games in South Korea. It was a privilege. I enjoyed it. However, for those who don't know me, I'm also identifying as a lesbian woman. So we do meet challenges from time to time in the sport as people of the LGBT, especially the L and the T and the I of the whole alphabet of the Rainbow Nation, as some call us. And I had my fair share of those, especially when I was in South Africa, because when I was in the States, I did not identify as lesbian. But when I came back home, it's when I started to basically come out of the closet, if you will. And some of the challenges that came with that were just sometimes things like bullying. You get bullied by your fellow tennis players who feel they are heterosexual and they deserve more space than you in the field. You get bullied by spectators from time to time when you are on court. Those who know tennis is a very mental game, and it's a very quiet game. People must be quiet. You clap at a certain time, you cheer at a certain time. You are and now when you are playing and people are just screaming and shouting because of your sexuality, it becomes a little intimidating, and most of the times it makes it difficult to express yourself as an athlete and show off your skills, because now you are just being mentally disturbed by these jeers that are coming from outside. I know some of my friends who are identifying as a lesbian in the sport. They were soccer people at Dex. They from time to time had to complain about harassment. Being harassed by other soccer players, especially male soccer players, even male coaches sometimes. Homophobia at the top of the list. Homophobia from sports organizations sometimes, but mainly from fans as well as society at large, was a huge one as well. Research is showing that 75% of lesbians or trans women or intersex women, from time to time when they are playing, they would hear jeers and disparaging statements from people who are spectating, and that's not something very nice to have to deal with after you have trained so hard for so long. Somebody spoke about Olympics. We know that they happen once in 4 years, and for you to get such things when you are competing can be very, very disheartening. Some sports, I know they still exclude trans women because there's still a serious debate as to whether do they need to compete with heterosexual women and women at large, or do they need to be isolated to compete on their own as trans women. It's still a very pertinent debate in the sport fraternity. We all have probably remember the case of Caster Semenya, our very own runner, and how it ended because of this hormone therapy that she had to be pretty much forced to go under. That, if you ask me, ruined her career as an athlete. Hence, she has opted to be a coach now. And I mean, if somebody is born with a certain how do I call it? If somebody is born a certain way, why should she be forced to go through hormone therapies? Isn't it that inherently she was born with what she has? Why can't she be left to compete? If somebody is tall, are they going to say, no, you are too tall than the average person, you cannot be doing high jump? It's such things that the trans women, intersex women rather, are still facing. Just toxic gender stereotypes. It's one of those challenges, and being objectified or sexualized when we are playing, or because you're presenting a certain way or you look a certain way to the human eye is also another challenge when people should be looking at your skin. I remember for this 2003 games in South Korea, it was not even only about gender at the time, it was about race as well. We were expected to compete as Black people alone, and then they will choose from the Black people, and then the whites will compete alone, and then they will take a white female and a Black female and put them together. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to compete with everybody because I have to go there on merit. If I don't win against everybody that has to compete, then why are you only taking me there as quota? So I've been on the intersection of race and gender at the same time through sports for some time when I was still a player. Though I'm not playing anymore now, I'm coaching. Things are starting to look up, but not as much. But the debates are there. I guess we first start with talking, and we're just hoping for a better day in the future. That's all I have for you, colleagues, about my experience. I don't know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nunutipe. Before heading to questions, I would like to thank you for sharing this moment with us and bringing us the awareness about the LGBTQI community in sport and the power of your resilience. It's an encouragement to any woman and any young girl out there, any LGBTQI community out there, that you should not give up. You should be resilient, take control of your mindset, and look at your goals. Listen to your own instinct. So thank you so much. I'd like to take some questions.
My question is, how do we apply or how do we go about? Because we have this person at home who did sports management, and it's difficult for us to get a place for them to do practical or to be in the field whereby they know what is it that is happening in the field, because practical and theory are two different things. We've been trying to network, but nothing is happening on our side.
Where's the person? From which area?
Limpopo. Now he's based at Limpopo. It was around Pretoria. He studied at TUT.
To be honest,
So now-
Kansani, when you're wanting to be, here's the brutal fact about sports. You see, somebody studies sports management and then they are not in a sports team. It's usually disadvantaging, because if for example, let me make example with tennis, because that's what I'm very familiar with. If we are a tennis team and I'm looking for a tennis manager, I usually would pick from the team that I have, not from somebody who played it, because I feel that somebody who's in the team already knows the ins and outs of what I'm doing as a coach currently. But with the person that we are referring to, are they belonging to any sports team? If no, they need to find a sports team they can start belonging to so that they can be known, and then try to look for that practical there where they will be. But for now, otherwise they have to keep knocking, go to sports clubs, check in Limpopo where what sports clubs are there, what types of sports does he or she want to do practicals at, check the sporting academies if there's any, and just knock on doors, tell them who they are, what qualifications they have, and what they intend to do there. Are there any sports academies there in Limpopo near you? Is he in a team himself or herself?
At the present moment, I stay at Pretoria, so at Limpopo. So I will ask where.
He's in Pretoria now.
No, I am in Pretoria.
Oh.
Yes, and now he went to Limpopo.
Is he part of a team, any team?
Yeah, he was part of a team, so now I don't know what is it that he's doing. Because
he definitely needs to belong to a team and just play socially or whatever, and then try to ask that team that he can, if he can't work with them and do his practicals there. If he was in Pretoria, definitely I would send him to Tekis. There are a lot of academies there, from swimming to tennis to netball to football, karate, even TUT. But unfortunately, he's in Limpopo now. Huh?
No, I now she went to Limpopo because there's nothing happening in Pretoria. So even if it can be around Pretoria, you can send me an email if you don't mind, so that we can communicate and then can place even.
Okay.
Without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Pitwane, Dr. Annette Pitwane, who is going to give us a vote of thanks.
I'm Bungi Pitwane, the head of counseling in Gauteng region, and we are hosting this event for our women, especially our students, for today, actually for the whole of August. Hence, we are here today. But my duty is just to say thank you to everybody who is here and who was able to join this talk. It was very, very important for us to be sharing what we did today. I would like to thank Mr. Makahani, one of our own, the student counselor in Ekurhuleni, who is a man among us, but he was able to welcome us and ensure that we feel at home. And by that, we are thankful, Mr. Makahani, because we alone as women, we cannot do it. We need men who can understand the journeys and the challenges that we are facing, and you did that quite well. We appreciate you. And our second speaker, one of our colleagues, Miss Nkenge Tosago, we appreciate you. We thank you that you were able to educate us about how women have been marginalized and what are the challenges still faced by women. And to Miss Cindy Somakuba, yeah, we are still struggling financially. You have highlighted the issues of barrier, cultural barrier, financial illiteracies. We as women, we really need to be educated on that among ourselves as we go to the society, the clubs. Let us share the knowledge and try to empower other women. I liked what she said, that we should try to adopt one girl, one woman, one boy, not necessarily girls only. And whatever we have, we should be able to share with others. Let us empower one another. We cannot just be on top alone. Let us try to take other women up as we go up this ladder. That was very powerful for you to have shared with us. We are so thankful. And she talked about financial independence. We are so thankful. And Debahano, thank you so much, one of our own interns, for the poem that you shared with us. And to Ms. Julama Bena, talking about resilience. This is a buzzword that we always hear, and how you have put it, we really loved it, because you indicated that you cannot just allow yourself to fail. You should always, by all means, try to pick yourself up, bounce back, irrespective of the challenges that you face. Don't ever give up in life. And that's what we want. In the journey of you as an attorney, as an advocate or an attorney, you did not give up. Irrespective of men being in that profession and dominating, you did not allow yourself to fail. We like that. Women who are studying law, I think you have learned a lot, even everybody. And to Ms. Vusiwen Ngobo, thank you for having come on board at the late hour. We were able to get hold of her last night around 11 o'clock, but she came on board and she really educated us. She encouraged us to say that as women, we must be able to multitask, push hard for what you want. Don't just give up. If in your heart you need to do something, go all out for it and don't give up. Don't let the hurdles, the obstacles block you from what you want. It is also an issue of resilience. Just bounce back. You cannot just say that I have been directed in this way. This is where I can. Yes, we know that we can plan, but God direct our steps. But when you have something in your heart, go for it. And ultimately you'll go for it. You'll get it. And the women, again, our colleague, Dr. T, we really appreciate you, whereby you have highlighted issues of trans women, the challenges that they face in their lives. But I suppose you were able to break the barriers. You did quite well. We know your story. You are our colleague. And we encourage women also not to give up. When they feel strong about anything in life, they should go all out for it. I suppose there was a common theme here of not giving up in life. If there is something that you need, you should do it, go for it. Platform for women has been opened. We cannot always hold back to say that this has happened in the past. We are not going to give up. Let's rise together as women. We can do it and we can do better. And I thank everybody. And to our technical support team, we thank you. You are always there for us to ensure that everything is running according to plan. To our program director, Basi and Lihumo, thank you for having led this program quite well. It's your first time on stage. You did well. We are thankful. And to all the counseling staff, to everybody, to our students, of course, who are our stakeholders, thank you so much for joining and for engaging, for trying to understand and know what is happening and getting answered on your questions. We are so thankful for you. And on that note, ke rata ke re ke a leboga. Back to the program directors.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Dr. P. Have a great day and enjoy your day. Thank you so much.